Welcome to Beyt Kol Israel. I hope that this is a blessing for you. We're going to begin with prayer. So, Lord Yeshua, we thank you for this opportunity to be in your house because this is your house. Wherever two or more are gathered in your name, you say you are here, and we are gathered here under your name, Lord Yeshua. And we ask you to start off with for forgiveness of sins because that's the issue that separates us from you. And one day that sin will be done away. Even the author of sin, Satan himself, will be destroyed, and there'll be no more thought or even idea of sin. We look forward to that day at the resurrection. But for now, we ask for forgiveness of sins known and unknown so that we can offer ourselves to you as holy and clean. And we come into your presence. We give thanks, Lord Yeshua, for everything you've done. And we also praise and worship you and you alone. Especially, Lord Yeshua, that you died for us that we might eventually be able to live for you. And now we ask you humbly as we are gathered here at your feet, Lord Yeshua, spiritually, and ask you by your own Spirit to teach us all things, because that is your promise. And we give thanks for that promise and that teaching in your name, Yeshua. Amen and amen. So we are in Phineas in English. And this is the man who kills Cosby and Zimri. They are fornicating in the tent after the Midianites. Balaam had convinced the Midianite women to join with the Hebrews in an orgy, basically, and 24,000 died. That was last week, and that was the plan, because since Balaam could not curse them directly, he said the only way that we can get separated from our God is through sin. So he encouraged them to sin. And after that event, then they hung all the elders, all the leaders of the various tribes who encouraged the people, said it was okay to participate in the orgy and the worship of Baal Peor. And as these men were being hung and dead, Cosby and Zimri, we're going to go through it here and talk about it, but Phineas killed them. You didn't have to have a trial. This is a summary judgment. They were in the act. And for that, he was given the covenant of peace because he had the jealousy. God is jealous for his bride, and so is Phineas. So that's the basic part of the beginning of this parsha, but the rest of it is really all about sacrifices, the order of sacrifices and the feasts of Jehovah. These are not the feasts of the Jews exclusively. This is all the tribes and all the people who have joined themselves to the house of Israel are required by God to participate in these feasts, and because it's a teaching time. All these feasts teach something. Every sacrifice, the number of sacrifices, the amounts of oil, and then we'll go through all these numbers. It's really interesting, and it's a long part. It's actually the longest portion. Part of this whole parsha is all about the sacrifices and the feast days. So we're going to go through this. And as a reminder, let me start our recording here that we put online. Again, the parsha portion is Phineas, but we continue to go through the entire Bible, chapter by chapter. We're almost finished with the book of Revelation. Now we're starting in chapter 18 of Revelation. It's translated from the Greek and from the Hebrew. If there's a significant difference, well, we'll just go through both. So, and from the Greek, 18:1, from the Hebrew rather. And after this I saw another messenger descending from Shemaim. It can mean the heaven of heavens or the heavens. And he has come down. He has descended. He had great power and great might, and the ground, or the surface of the dirt on the earth, shone after these things I saw. And they shone from his light. And from the Greek it says, and after these things I saw another messenger coming down out of the heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. Verse 2, and he cried out with all his power and said, fallen, fallen is Babylon, and it became the dwelling of Satan's, and to hide all the unclean ones of the birds and of the creeping things. And he cried in a strong voice, from the Greek, and he cried in a strong, great voice, saying, Babylon the great has fallen, and it has become a dwelling place of demons, and a prison of every unclean spirit, and a prison of every unclean bird, having been hated. So now we have to remember that in the previous chapters, these last seven messengers, there was smoke filled the tabernacle. So this relates to Yom Kippur, which is the time of judgment. So also this tells us this is toward the very end, either right up until maybe like the last 5 months of tribulation, when there's great darkness on earth, because Babylon has fallen means two things. Not only does the one world government, which represents Babylon, which is both a physical, political entity and also a religious entity joined together. Remember the harlot riding on the beast, that represents Babylon. But Babylon falls when Messiah comes. He destroys that kingdom and it'll never rise again. But ultimately, at the end of the millennium, at the great judgment, when Satan is destroyed, he is the king or the ruler of this Babylonian system. So that's the ultimate destruction. So but basically, this is focusing on just before Messiah comes, because Babylon is fallen. So when God says Babylon has fallen, even though it still exists, it has fallen, because at this end time, this is true. All the satanic forces in the world and all the uncleanness are all joined in this Babylonian political false religious system. Verse 3, for all of them have drunk of her wine. So remember, wine represents covenant or sealing of covenants. It represents blood, because all covenants are sealed by blood. So when it says they have drunk of her wine, they believe in what she has said, her promises. And the kings of earth have committed fornication with her. So fornication relates to religious idolatry. And all the merchants have become rich by their great desire for her. So there's also this monetary system involved. Remember, it says also in the book of Revelation that no one can buy or sell unless they have the mark of the beast. From the Greek, it says, because of the wine of the anger of her prostitution, which all the nations have drunk, and the kings of the earth have committed prostitution with her, and the merchants of the earth became rich from the power of her indulgence. Verse 4, and I heard another voice from the heavens, and he said, come out of her, my people, that you not be punished with her because of her iniquities. From the Greek, and I heard another voice out of heaven saying, my people, come out of her, that you may not share in her sins, and you may not receive of her plagues. So this is this last and final call to come out of this system. Now notice it says in both verses, it says, my people. So this is God's people. So there are people still fooling around in the world with the worldly system, and in the end, we have to come out. We have to set aside everything else and just follow our God, and that's it. Verse 5, for her iniquities, her sins have reached all the way into heaven, the heaven of heavens, the heavens, and Jehovah, and he will remember at her. From the Greek, for her sins joined together even unto heaven, and the God remembered her iniquities. Verse 6, and as she did, so much do unto her, and repay her doubled twice, according to her works. It says exactly the same thing in the Greek. It just says double instead of doubled twice. So everything that she has done to God's people and the people in the world, having abused them, it's going to be doubled back to her. So basically it means we get a temporary death, they get a permanent death. That's the doubling. 18:7, and as she exalted herself and walked after her desires, according to this make her sufferings for her, for she thinks in her heart, I am a queen, and I will not be a widow, I will not see any pain. From the Greek, by what thing she glorified herself, and indulgences by so much give back to her in torment and mourning. Because she says in her heart, I sit as a queen, and I am not a widow, and I do not see mourning at all. Now this is the harlot on the beast. You can see it that way, but also it is interesting, the queen, because the two largest religions on earth, Islam and Catholicism, worship Mary. And they call her the Queen of Heaven, but she's not the Queen of Heaven. She was just merely the woman who, from whom Messiah was born, but she died just like all of us. And this whole Marian worship of Mary system is idolatrous. Verse 18, and because of this, their sufferings will come in one day. Okay, this term one day, remember 1,000 years is a day, and a day is 1,000 years to God. And Peter says, remember this. So the day of the Lord is 1,000-year period. So when it says, and because of this, their sufferings will come in one day, that means in this millennial period, because the kingdom, the one world government, is defeated at the beginning of the millennium, but at the end, Satan and all of his are utterly destroyed. So, and because of this, their sufferings will come in one day, and the death and the suffering and the hunger, and she will be burned with fire. For the Lord Jehovah is powerful, who will judge at her. Remember, he's the judge of all the earth. From the Greek, because of this, in one day her plague shall come, death and mourning and famine, and she will be consumed with fire, lake of fire, right? For the Lord is strong, the one judging her. Verse 9. And the kings of earth who have committed fornication with her will be astonished over her when they see the smoke of her fire. This means the destruction. So now this relates to when Messiah comes and defeats the one world government, the kings of the earth are just going to be amazed. From the Greek, and the kings of the earth will weep for her and will wail over her, the ones committing prostitution, having luxuriated with her when they see the smoke of her burning. And they will stand far away because of the terror and say, woe and alas, the great city Babylon, your destruction came suddenly. From the Greek, standing from afar because of the fear of her torment, saying, woe, woe to the great city Babylon, the strong city, for in 1 hour your judgment came. So as a side note, there is also another layer of this. There are, how would you say this? The spiritual evilness, the root of that is Rome and the city on 7 hills that will be destroyed. But the political, economic, and merchant side is more the United States. So when the United States gets destroyed and destruction is coming here, people, the whole world sells us stuff. And as much as they don't like the United States, they depend on us for buying their merchandise. So it can also mean that. Verse 11, and the merchants will weep and hiss over you, for no one will buy merchandise from them anymore. Same thing in the Greek. Verse 12, the merchants of merchandise of gold and silver and goodly stones, gems, fine linens, and all kinds of wood and kinds of vessels of silver and iron and tin and lead. Marble is added in the Greek. Verse 13, and the wine and the oil and the fine flour, wheat and bulls and sheep and horses and calves and souls of man. It isn't interesting because really it's about also the buying and selling of people. There's a lot of trade in human flesh these days. Yes? Yeah, souls of Adam, yeah, souls of God's people. Yeah, so now it is. But now in the Greek it says anthropon, says human, so we have this kind of difference in writing.
The Greek looks at it literally in the sense that
it's mankind.
Adam represents male and female.
Yeah.
And then Messiah represents human.
Yeah, souls of man. Now remember in Hebrew there's Adam, Ish, and Enosh. There's man, man, and man, but one is man like God created. It's more on the godly side, the Adamic form. Ish is when Adam was split into man and woman. And Anashim, or Enosh, that's the fleshly humans. So when it says the souls of man, that often means related to God's people.
So the split Adam is actually called Ish and Isha.
Yes.
They put it together.
But they are together are Adam. So
you're saying Satan and all his are going to keep us captive and sell us as merchandise.
Yes. They want to use us. Remember what Henry Kissinger called the people on the earth? Useless eaters. Pardon? Yeah, Satan has been doing that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Who is he used to fight the wars? Darrell was saying the children of Israel.
Also, when you're selling children, they're innocent.
Yes, selling innocent, destroying innocence. Buying and selling of children is rampant. From the Greek, it says, and cinnamon, incenses, ointments, frankincense, wine, and oil, and fine meal, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and of bodies and souls of humans, their very existence. Remember, Pharaoh did the same thing. He abused God's people to do his work for him, and caring not about their lives and threw their children into the Nile. No, go ahead and speak up so people can hear.
Well, Satan, as far as war goes, he's just killing people.
Yeah.
Either side wins, it's his beast system.
Yeah, he doesn't care who wins. Yeah.
Whichever side wins, the most powerful beast system, he runs that.
He runs that. He runs both sides. Yeah. I remember historically, if you read many years ago, the Rothschild family, they financed both sides of all wars. That's why they like wars.
Well, that's why the military-industrial complex, that's what it does.
Yes, that's what Eisenhower in the 50s warned the people of, the military-industrial complex. And, the bankers of the world, which is basically the Rothschild, because they control all banking ultimately, they realized that World War I made them a lot of money. And that's why they started World War I, and that's why they want World War III. It makes lots. All these wars make tremendous amounts of money. You know, the wars in the Middle East. You know, Halliburton went in there and rebuilt Iraq 3 times, and then we go in and destroy it, and they rebuild it, and it's money that we're paying. It's terrible what's going on. Yeshua's going to put an end to all this stuff. That's what this is all about. Making money. You know, there's a place in the Bible that says that he hates the merchandising of Satan, the money system. Verse 15, and the merchants who sold these things unto her will stand far away and weep over her. From the Greek it adds, because of the fear of her torment, weeping and mourning. Verse 16, and say, woe and alas, the great city Babylon that was clothed with linen, or in linen. I have to, there's a double word in there. The with has to go up. Was clothed in linen and in gold and in goodly stones and gems. From the Greek, and saying, woe, woe to the great city, having been clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and having been gilded with gold and precious stones and pearls. You know, the wealthy people of the world, I mean, they have the 100-foot, 200-foot yachts, and they're living with all kinds of stuff, but it's going to eventually come down to nothing. For in 1 hour everything is laid waste, your merchandise, your mariners, your sailors, those who repair your breaches, and those who trade your merchandise, and all the men of war will stand far away. From the Greek, for in 1 hour such great wealth was desolated, and every shipmaster and all company on ships and sailors, and as many as worked the sea, stood from afar. Basically, this is the collapse of the whole system. The whole Babylonian system is being destroyed. Verse 18, and they will cry out when they see the smoke and say, woe. Who was like the great city? From the Greek, and cried out, seeing the smoke of her burning, saying, is there any like the great city? Verse 19, and they will cast dust over the heads, crying out and weeping and mourning, and saying, oi, oi. Woe, woe unto the great city Babylon, for all the merchants who had their ships in the sea were made rich by her merchandise, and now in 1 hour everything is laid waste. Same thing in the Greek, from the Greek. Verse 20, rejoice, heavens, and his holy ones, and his prophets, for Jehovah has avenged it, their vengeance in her. From the Greek, rejoice over her, heaven, and the holy apostles and the prophets, because thee God judged your judgment on her. It's all folded back on her. Verse 21, and one messenger took a great stone like a millstone and cast it into the sea and said, like this will Babylon sink and shall rise up no more. From the Greek, and one messenger, strong messenger, lifted a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, Thus was violent shall Babylon the great city be thrown, and it will never more still be found. Now, a great stone, we have to go back to Daniel here, because the statue in the dream of Daniel, that Nebuchadnezzar had, of the gold of Babylon, silver of Medo-Persia, bronze of Greece, and then the iron of Rome, and then the 2 legs going into the 10 toes. At the end, it says the stone will come from heaven and crush the 10 toes. Remember, we had the 10 kingdoms and the 7 heads, and
The 10 kingdoms that
Yeah.
do this to the woman.
that's right. That's the 10 toes. So this stone is also, this is that same thing. The stone coming down, and then the whole statue falls. The whole Babylonian system's gone forever, because it'll never rise again. So this is the ultimate destruction at the 10 toes that Daniel saw. Or
Robert uses the 10 toes the way it's written. He uses the 10 toes to punish the woman
yes,
before they're taken out.
yeah, because the Committee of 300 wants to divide the world into 10 different zones. And by the way, when Trump took power, he said he wanted to take over Canada and Greenland. Well, Canada, Greenland, and the United States is one of those 10 areas. Pardon?
Whoever it is, they're doing their job.
Whoever it is, they're doing their job.
If you buck it, then you're going against prophecy.
Yeah, you're going against. It's coming. Yeah, it's coming. So, and remember, of these 10 kingdoms, these 10 zones on earth, 3 will be taken out, and the other 7 will give all their power to the beastly system, the leader of the beast, Satan. So that's why you have the 7 heads of the 10 kingdoms. From verse 22, and there shall not be heard in her the voice of joy, the voice of gladness, and the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, nor any instruments of the skilled workers, and the sounds of millstones will no be heard in you. Now, I think this relates more to the destruction of the United States, because when God's people are taken out and the country is destroyed, then this will happen. From the Greek, and the sound of harpers and musicians and flutists and trumpets will not be heard in you, never. And every craftsman of every craft will not still be found in you, never. And the sound of a mill shall not be heard in you, never. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference here. But the Greek says it in another verse. 8:23, and no longer will the light from the light sources shine in you anymore. Light is Torah, light sources are God's people, God's messengers, be it heavenly or earthly. For your merchants were princes over the earth. For all your sorceries they deceived all the peoples. From the Greek, and the light of a lamp will not shine in you. See, here's now the bride and groom are mentioned in the Greek in this verse. And the light of a lamp will not shine in you, never. And the voice of the bridegroom and bride will not be heard in you, never. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth. For by your sorcery, all the nations will be led astray. So they just kind of flipped. 23 and 22 are cover both. 8:24, and in her was found the blood of the holy ones and the prophets and of all those killed upon the ground. Because remember, the beast shall overcome God's people and kill most of them. That's what this is talking about. From the Greek, and in her was found the blood of prophets and holy ones and all the ones having been slain on the earth.
We talked about that. This thing is related to the two witnesses that were going to be killed and resurrected.
Yes, this is the ultimate. This is right at the very end, because the reason that Babylon is being punished because they've killed most of God's people, and then they will kill these two witnesses. And then when Messiah comes, they're resurrected, and also the bride portion is resurrected, and they come into the land. The 200 million man army is destroyed. So this is all interfolded. Now, remember, this is all talking about one day, but specifically as we're talking about the tribulation period. So the United States is destroyed, Rome is destroyed, the one world system is destroyed. There's all the mountains and hills are brought low. The low places, those that are oppressed, are brought up. That's God's people. And the only kingdom that will rise is in Jerusalem. That's God's kingdom. That'll be the only kingdom on earth forever. Because when we transition into eternity, even though everything we see disappears in fiery heat, what remains is God's kingdom. So now we'll go into the Torah, Haftorah, and Brit Hadashah portions. Again, this is Pinchas Phineas is the Torah portion. It's from the Midmar, which is Numbers 25:10 through 31. And Jehovah spoke to Moses to say, Pinchas ben Eleazar ben Aharon, Phineas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, has turned away at my wrath from upon the sons of Israel, in that he was jealous with my jealousy, and among them he was jealous with my jealousy among them, so that I did not consume the sons of Israel, in my jealousy. Therefore, behold, I give to him at Briti Shalom, the covenant of peace. Now, in the Torah scroll, there's a word shalom. The O is carried by a vav, and that vav is made large. It's one of the tittles, one of the altered letters. It will come back. So, and that vav represents, in this case, like the spear that Phineas used to shish kebab Cosby and Zimri. And because he killed active sin in the community, he gets the covenant of peace. So what does the covenant of peace means? Is that the one who gives us the covenant of peace is the one who will destroy active sin in all of us. So peace ultimately means there's no sin in your life. That brings peace. It's not getting along with everybody. It is that God will destroy sin in our lives. And Phineas, since he had that same attitude in his heart, that he wanted to kill active sin within the physical community, Yeshua will, when he resurrects us, there'll be no more sin ever. And he is the Prince of Peace. 25:13, and it shall be to him and to his seed, singular seed after him. See, the ultimate singular seed is the one who gives the covenant of peace. That's Messiah himself. Paul in the New Testament, the T with the N in front of it, right? The newest part of the Testament. He talks about that the singular seed is Messiah. And the covenant of priesthood forever, because he was jealous for his God and made atonement for the sons of Israel. Who ultimately makes atonement for us? It's Messiah himself. So Phinehas here in this covenant of peace represents Messiah destroying active sin in our life, and he is the priesthood. He has the priesthood forever. And we will become a kingdom of priests with him. Verse 14, in the name of the man of Israel that was slain, who was slain with at the Midianite woman, was Zimri ben Salu, a prince of the house of Shimon, the Shimonites, Shimoni. So now we have a high leader. You can think of it like a very high governmental leader, right? So that's the man who was killed. And the name of the Midianitish woman who was slain was Cosbi Bat Sur, so she's the daughter of Sur, and he was the head of the people of the house of Midian. So we have the two high governmental leaders. Now remember, 24,000 had died in the plague of this orgy that they had worshiping Baal Peor, and they had just hung up all these leaders, and they're weeping for them. And Zimri brings Cosbi with him to his tent, and they start having sex while these people are weeping over what had just happened, which is because of the sin of fornication and the punishment thereof. And Jehovah spoke to Moses to say, besiege at the Midianites and strike them, for they oppress you with their wiles, with which they have beguiled you in the matter of Peor. Now Peor is Baal Peor is the god of openings, so we're talking about sex and all the openings. I don't want to be graphic, but that's what it's perverted sex in every form is what Baal Peor worship is, and that's what's going on in the world today. And in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of the prince of Midian, their sister, who was slain on the day of the plague in the matter of Peor. And it came to pass after the plague that Jehovah spoke to Moses and to Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, to say, take at count, or rosh, call adat b'nai Israel, the sum or the count. It literally means the rosh is the head. Again, when they count, a person would stand up and declare himself and his family, right? It's a census count. So take the sum of the congregation of the sons of Israel from 20 years old and upward by the houses of the families, all who were able to go forth to war in Israel. So remember, it's one of Jehovah's titles as Jehovah Tsabaot, Jehovah of hosts, Jehovah the commanded ones. So these are the soldiers that follow his commands and those who are counted. Now this is the second counting. At the beginning of the book of Numbers, the people are counted, but then when they rejected the land and a whole generation dies in the wilderness, they are counted again, and we're going to find the numbers almost the same. And remember, 24,000 died just in the previous Torah portion. And Moses and Eleazar, the priest, now it's Eleazar doing the counting because Aaron died, has just recently died. So Moses and Eleazar, the priest, the high priest, spoke with them in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho, saying, from 20 years old and upward, as commanded Jehovah at Moshe and the sons of Israel that came forth out of the land of Egypt. Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, the sons of Reuben, of Hanoch, the family of Hanochi, of Palu, the family of Ha-Palui, of Chetzron, of the family of Ha-Chetzroni, of Ha-Carmi, of the family of Ha-Carmi. These are the families of Ruveni, and those who were numbered of them were 43,730. Those are all the Reubenites. And Bnei Palu, the sons of Palu, Eliav, and of the sons of Eliav, Nemuel and Datan and Aviram. These are that Datan and Aviram who were called of the congregation who strove against Moses and against Aaron in the congregation of Korach when they strove against Jehovah. These are those two tribe leaders out of some of the sub-tribes of Reuben who joined Korach, who was a cousin of Moses, in the rebellion to try to, Korach wanted to take over. And the earth opened up at its mouth and swallowed up at them and at Korach, and when that congregation died, when the fire devoured at 250 men, and they became a sign, because these are the 250 prince leaders who offered their fire along with Aaron, and God burned them, those 250 that were in rebellion. Notwithstanding, the sons of Korach did not die, because they did not stand with their father. They stood with God instead. And Korach, the sons of Korach, wrote some of the Psalms. And the sons of Shimon, after their families, of Nemuel, the family of Ha-Nemueli, of Yamin, of the family of Ha-Yamini, of Yachin, of the family of Ha-Yachini, of Zerach, the family of Ha-Zarchi, of Shaul, the family of Ha-Shauli. These are the families of Hashimoni, 22,200. Bnei Gad, after their families, of Tzefon, the family of Ha-Tzefoni, of Hagi, the family of Ha-Hagi, the family of Hashuni, of the family of Hashuni, of Ozni, the family of Ha-Ozni, of Eri, the family of Ha-Eri, of Arod, the family of Ha-Arodi, of Arli, of the family of Ha-Arli. These are the families of Bnei Gad, according to those who were numbered of them, 40,500. Bnei Yehuda, the sons of Judah, and Onan died in the land of Canaan. Remember, because they were evil, and then Onan was sent in to raise up a son for Tamar, the bride of and he wouldn't do it, so God killed him too. And the only one left was Shelah. And the sons of Yehuda, after their families, were, now that those two are not mentioned, they're taken out because they died, of Shelah, that's the third son by the Canaanite wife, who was supposed to be married to Tamar, but did not. Yehuda ended up marrying Tamar. Of Shelah, the family of Hashelani, of Peretz, the family of Partzi, of Zerach, of the family of Hazarchi. Now, Peretz and Zerach, those are the two sons, the twins that came from Tamar, when Yehuda slept with her thinking she was a prostitute, and he married her. He just never had relations with her again. He brought her into his house. And the sons of Peretz were of Chetzron, the family of Ha-Chetzroni, of Chamul, the family of Ha-Chamuli. These are the families of Yehuda, according to those who were numbered of them, 76,500. Bnei Issachar, after their families, Tola, the family of Ha-Tolai, of Puvah, the family of Ha-Puni, of Yashuv, the family of Ha-Yashuvi, of Shimron, the family of Ha-Shimroni. These are the families of Yisachar, according to those who were numbered of them, 64,300. Bnei Zevulun, after their families, of Sered, the family of Ha-Sardi, of Elon, the family of Ha-Eloni, of Yachleel, the family of Ha-Yachleeli. These are the families of Ha-Zevuloni, according to those who were numbered of them, 60,500. Bnei Yosef, after their families, Menashe and Ephraim. And remember, Joseph and the two sons born to him first in Egypt, Manasseh and Ephraim, they were taken by Jacob, says they're now his sons. That's why they're counted as tribes. The sons of Manasseh, of Machir, the family of Ha-Machiri, and of Machir begat at Gilad, of Gilad, the family of Ha-Giladi, and these are Bnei Gilad. Ezer, the family of Ha-Ezri, of Chelek, the family of Ha-Chelki, and Asriel, the family of Ha-Asrieli, and of Shechem, the family of Ha-Shechmi, and Shemidah, the family of Ha-Shemidai, and Hefer, the family of Ha-Chefri. And Tzeflohad ben Hefer had no sons, but daughters. And the names of the daughters of Tzeflohad were Machlah, and Noah, and Hoglah, and Milcah, and Tirzah. These are the families of Manasseh, and those who were numbered of them were 52,700. These are the sons of Ephraim, Bnei Ephraim, after their families, of Shutelach, the family of Shutelchi, of Becher, the family of Ha-Bachri, of Tachan, of the family of Ha-Tachani, and these are Bnei Shetulach, of Aran, the family of Ha-Irani. And these are the families of Bnei Ephraim, according to those who were numbered of them, 32,500. And these are Bnei Yosef, after their families. Bnei Benjamin, the sons of Benjamin, after their families. Bela, of the families of Ha-Bal-I, of Ashbel, the family of Ha-Ashbeli, of Achiram, the family of Ha-Achirami, of Shafufam, the family of Ha-Shufami, of Hupham, of the family of Hahufami, and Bnei Bela were Ard and Naaman, and of Ard the family of Ha'ardi, of Naaman the family of Hanaami, and these are Bnei Benjamin after their families, and those who were numbered of them were 45,600. These are Bnei Dan after their families, of Shuham the family of Hashuchami. These are the families of Dan after their families, and all the families of the Hashuchani according to those who were numbered of them were 64,400. It's one big sub-tribe of Dan. Bnei Asher after their families, of Yimnah the family of Ha-Yimnah, of Yishvi of the family of Ha-Yishvi, of Beri'ah the family of Ha-Beri'i, and of the sons of Beri'ah, of Hefer the family of Ha-Hevri, of Malkiel the family of Ha-Malkieli, and the name of the daughter of Asher was Sarach. These are the families of Bnei Asher according to those who are numbered of them, 53,400. Bnei Naphtali, sons of Naphtali, after their families, of Yachzeel, the family of Ha-Yachzeeli, of Guni, the family of Ha-Guni, of Yetzer, the family of Ha-Yetzri, of Shilem, the family of Ha-Shilemi, and these are the families of Naphtali according to their families, and those who were numbered of them were 45,400. These are those who were numbered of the sons of Israel, 601,730. We're within a couple of hundred of the same count from 40 years prior. And Jehovah spoke to Moshe to say, unto all these shall the land be divided for an inheritance according to the number of the names. To the more larger tribes, to the more you shall give the more inheritance, more land, and to the fewer you shall give the less inheritance. To everyone according to those who were numbered, of him shall his inheritance be given. Notwithstanding, at the land shall be divided by lot. You don't get to choose. God chooses where you're going to live, but larger land to larger tribes. According to the names of the tribes of their fathers, they shall inherit. According to lot shall their inheritance be divided between the more and the fewer. And those who were numbered of Levi after their families, of Gershon, the family of Ha-Gershoni, of Kahat, the family of Ha-Kahati, and of Merari, the family of Ha-Merari. These are the families of Levi, the family of Ha-Livni, and the family of Ha-Hevroni, and the family of Ha-Machli, and the family of Ha-Mushi, and the family of Ha-Korhi. And Kahat begot at Amram, and the name of the wife of Amram was Yocheved bat Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt, and she bore to Amram at Aharon, and at Moshe, and at Miriam, their sister. Actually, she's the oldest, remember, because she stands by the Nile River when Moses is put in his little ark, and Aaron is 2 years older than Moses. And to Aharon were born Nadav and at Avihu, and at Elasar, and at Ithamar. The way it's written seems to me like it's two sets of twins. And Nadav and Avihu died when they offered strange fire before Jehovah. Remember, they got drunk? That's the indication implied, because right after they died, he says, don't get drunk and appear before God. But they offered strange fire. They want, after God consumed the sacrifice to start at the temple system, hey, let's see this again. And they saw it again, but died in the fire. And those who were numbered of them were 23,000, every male from a month old and upward. For they were not numbered among the sons of Israel, because there was no inheritance given them among the sons of Israel, because Jehovah is their inheritance. And these are those who were numbered by Moshe and Eleazar the priest, who were numbered at the sons of Israel in the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. This is called the Avarim, the land beyond the Jordan. And among these was not a man of them who were numbered by Moses and Aaron the priest, who numbered at the sons of Israel in the wilderness of Sinai 40 years prior. They were numbered just before they were sent to spy out the land, to go into the land. For Jehovah said of them, they shall surely die in the wilderness, and there was not left a man of them save, except Caleb ben Yephuneh and Yehoshua ben Nun. And again, Caleb is from the tribe of Yehudah, and Yehoshua is from the tribe of Ephraim. So this shows us the two houses that will go into the land. and drew near the daughters of Tzephlachad, the son of Hefer, the son of Gilad, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the family of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters: Machlah, and Noah, and Hoglah, and Milcah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar, the priest, and before the princes, the leaders, and all the congregation at the door of the tent of meeting, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, and he was not among the congregation of those who gathered themselves together against Jehovah in the congregation of Korach, but he died in his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be taken away from among his family because he had no son? Give to us a possession among the brothers of our father. And Moses brought at the cause before Jehovah, and Jehovah spoke to Moses to say, The daughters of Tzephlachad speak rightly. You shall surely give them possession of an inheritance among the brothers of their father, and you shall cause at their inheritance of their father to pass to them. And you shall speak to the sons of Israel to say, If a man die and have no son, then you shall cause his inheritance to pass to his daughter. So why does it go to the sons first? Because women join into the house of a man, and so they partake of that inheritance. Because that's why a woman takes on the name of her husband, because she's now joined that house. Although that's not happening in the world today, it should be, because it's a type and shadow of us being married to our Messiah, and we as his bride take on his name. It's not oppression, it's joining to your husband.
I think somewhere in the rule here with these 5 women that they were not allowed to marry outside of the house of their father.
See, you're jumping a whole parsha ahead here. But that is true.
I wouldn't lose that name of that.
That's right, because we don't want, because when women marry, they marry another man, and when they marry a man, they join into that inheritance. So the problem would be that if these daughters of Tzephlachad from the tribe of Manasseh and that land inheritance, if they were to marry someone from Yehuda or from Dan or Gad or whatever, then the inheritance would move with them. So they told them, yes, you get an inheritance, but now the restriction is that you must marry within your tribe, so that the inheritance of Manasseh stays within Manasseh. So now if a man have no son, then you shall cause the inheritance to pass to his daughter. And if he has no daughter, then you shall give it his inheritance to his brothers. And if he has no brothers, then you shall give it his inheritance of the brothers of his father. And if his father has no brothers, then you shall give it at his inheritance to his kinsman who is next to him of his family, and he shall possess at it. And these are the laws of inheritance in the United States today and most of the world. Makes sense, right? And it shall be to the sons of Israel for a statute and an ordinance as commanded Yehovah at Moshe. So when people say that the Bible is against women, this is one of the first documents on earth where women actually given the rights of inheritance and ownership. We are, after all, the bride of Messiah, and he is our inheritance, and we are his inheritance. That's what this ultimately means. And Jehovah said to Moshe, Go up unto this mountain of the Avarim range, and see at the land which I have given the sons of Israel. And when you have seen at it, you shall be gathered to your people, as Aaron your brother was gathered. He's going to die on top of this mountain, because you rebelled against the spoken word, the mouth of Jehovah, my mouth, against P, my spoken word, in the wilderness of Tzin, in the strife of the congregation, to sanctify me at the water before their eyes. This was the water of Meribah Kadesh, provocation and holiness in the wilderness of Sin. This is when he was told to speak to the rock, Haselah, and he struck it twice, as a matter of fact. And this misrepresented the salvation plan. God was stricken for us once, and after that, now we can do all things in his name. That's what it was supposed to be teaching. And because he did not represent God correctly, and he influenced the whole congregation because of his leadership position, this is what happened. Doesn't mean he won't be in the kingdom, he just won't get to go into the physical land. And Moses spoke to Jehovah to say, Let Jehovah, the God of spirits of all flesh, appoint a man over the congregation, who may go out before them, and who may come in before them, and who may lead them out, and who may bring them in, that the congregation of Jehovah not be as sheep which have no shepherd. And Jehovah said to Moshe, Take you at Yehoshua ben Nun, Joshua the son of Nun, a man in whom is spirit, and lay at your hand on him. Now remember, he's from the tribe of Ephraim. So now the Melchizedek leader of all the people is going to be not from Levi, not from Yehuda, but from Ephraim. and set him before Eleazar the high priest, and before all the congregation, appoint at him in their sight. And you shall put of your honor on him, that all the congregation of the sons of Israel may obey. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire for him by the judgment of the Urim, those are Urim and Thummim, the light stones, before Jehovah. At his word shall they go out, and at his word shall they come in, both at he and at all the sons of Israel with him and all the congregation. And Moses did as Jehovah commanded at him, and he took at Yehoshua, and set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation he laid at his hands on him, and appointed him as Jehovah spoke to Moshe. And Jehovah spoke to Moshe to say, command the sons of Israel, and tell them, at my offering, my food for my offerings made by fire for a sweet savor to me, shall you observe to offer to me in a due season. I want to go back here a bit. Now it's Joshua who leads the people into the land. Now what does Joshua's name mean? Whose Savior is Yah. Now Moses, who is the scribe of the Torah, he represents Torah. Obedience to Torah cannot save us and bring us into the land, because once we sin, we activated the death sentence that is in the Torah for sin. The wages of sin are death. But Joshua, whose Savior is Yah, it is the salvation of Jehovah that allows us, that enables us to go into the kingdom when we thank him and ask him for forgiveness of our sins. And his death, and when Yeshua died for us, that covers our sins. So it's Joshua, it's our salvation through Messiah that brings us into the land, not obedience to the Torah. Does that mean the Torah is done away with? No. Because Moses tells us, look, these Canaanites broke all these commandments. And if we break any one of them, we get kicked out too. So in eternity, we can never sin again. Not one sin, but we'll be resurrected in a form that we will understand that no sin is good. All sin is evil. We're going to be like God. We can't even be in the presence or thought of sin. So I just want to reiterate that before we continue. So command them that my offering, my food for my offerings made by fire for a sweet savor to me. Remember, a sweet savor means done at the right time, in the right place, in the right way. It's done in obedience. Shall you observe to offer to me in their due season, at the appointed times, because it's a teaching system. And you shall tell them, this is the offering made by fire which you shall offer to Jehovah. Male lambs a year old without blemish, 2 day by day, for a perpetual burnt offering. The one lamb shall you offer in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer at dusk. So we start our day worshiping Messiah, and we end our day worshiping Messiah. And he is the lamb, he's the lamb that died for us. So that's the thing that should drive our lives, of thanking him that he's saved us. And a 10th part of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering mixed with a 4th part of a hin of beaten oil. Oil represents spirit, meal represents God's word, food, bread. So it's God's word mixed with his spirit. If you read the Bible and you don't have a relationship with Messiah, it means nothing. The words have no life, but with a relationship, it's a living word. It is a perpetual burnt offering, which is ordained on Mount Sinai for a sweet savor, an offering made by fire to Jehovah. And the drink offering, it shall be the 4th part of a hin. For the one lamb in the holy place shall you pour out a drink offering of strong drink to Jehovah. So it's wine, it's not grape juice. And at the other lamb you shall offer at dusk as the meal offering of the morning, and as a drink offering of it you shall offer it an offering made by fire for a sweet savor to Jehovah. Now, this happens every day. It did happen. We don't need it anymore because the real Lamb of God has come here. We now offer in prayer our morning and evening sacrifice. But this is done continually, so no matter what other appointed times, those are just additive to this. So the thing that rules our life that we should think about continually is that God has died for us and offered us salvation. And on the day of Shabbat, yes, Sabbath, today, 2 male lambs a year old, there's 2 houses of Israel in the world today, Ephraim and Yehuda. 2 male lambs a year old without blemish, and 2/10 parts of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, and the drink offering of it. And this is the burnt offering of every Shabbat. Beside the perpetual burnt offering and the drink offering of it. And in the beginnings of your months, that's at the new moon, the first light of the moon, that indicates the beginning of the month. We're going to see that later on. It actually talks about the new moon. You shall offer a burnt offering to Yehovah, 2 young bulls. Okay. Now, bulls are sacrifices for groups of nations. So now we have the two nations of Israel, 2 bulls, 1 ram. The ram caught in the thicket is Messiah, right? The 7 male lambs, okay, all through all of the 7,000 years, the complete work of Messiah is of the lamb, a year old without blemish. And 3/10 parts, now 3 is related to resurrection and perfection, so 3/10 parts of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil for each bull, and 2/10 parts of an ephah. Now, a tenth, 2/10, it's 20%, but 2 is also the number of division, because our God divides between the holy and the unholy, the clean and the unclean. And fine flour mixed with oil for the 1 ram. And a 10th part, now that's a tithe, a 10th part of fine flour mixed with oil for a meal offering and for every lamb, for the burnt offering, for a sweet savor, an offering made by fire to Jehovah. And their drink offering shall be half a hin of wine for a bull, and a 3rd part of a hin for a ram, and a 4th part of a hin for a lamb. 4 relates to the world, by the way. It also relates to mothers. There are 4 mothers. But it's the world, 4 corners of the earth, 4 directions of the earth, north, south, east, and west. This is the burnt offering of every month throughout the months of the year, and 1 male goat for a sin offering, because he died for us, so he is the sin offering. It shall be offered beside the perpetual offering and the drink offering of it. And in the 1st month, on the 14th day of the month, is Pesach Jehovah, the Passover of Jehovah. And on the 15th day of this month shall be a feast. 7 days shall matzahs, unleavened bread, be eaten. On the 1st day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work, but you shall offer an offering made by fire, burnt offering to Jehovah. 2 young bulls, again the 2 nations, and a ram. He is that ram, and the 7 male lambs. He is the one who, through all of space and time, he has offered us salvation through his death, and they shall be to you without blemish. And their meal offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 parts shall you offer for a bull, and 2/10 parts for the ram. A 10th part shall you offer for every lamb of the 7 lambs, and 1 male goat for a sin offering to make atonement for you. You shall offer at these beside the burnt offering of the morning, which is for the perpetual burnt offering. After the manner you shall offer daily for 7 days the food of the offering made by fire for a sweet savor to Jehovah. It shall be offered beside the perpetual burnt offering and a drink offering of it. And on the 7th day you shall have a holy convocation, shall do no servile work. And on the day of first fruits, when you offer a new meal offering to Jehovah in your weeks, feast is understood, you feast of weeks, you shall have a holy convocation, you shall do no servile work. So now we have an overlap here. Now the 7 days of matzah represent the physical journey on earth, leaving Egypt and eventually going into the millennial kingdom. But there is no 8th day, because there is we don't enter eternity. This is the physical journey represented in the Torah when they left Egypt and ended up in the promised land. Now, within the 7 days, now, how did they leave Egypt? It's because of Passover. God killed the firstborn of all the firstborn in Egypt, and they were then asked to leave. Please get out of town. But that goes into the 1st day of matzah, because they had unleavened bread, because the bread that they put on their shoulders, the dough didn't rise because the temperature wasn't right, so they had this unleavened bread. Now, leaven outside in the world represents sin. So for 7,000 years, 7 days of this feast, there's supposed to be no leaven within the land. That represents for what's our job for 7,000 years? Try to get the sin out of our lives. But what can we do without Messiah? Nothing. He says, for I am the vine, you are the branches. Without me, you can do nothing. I know I'm compressing that. But with the salvation relationship with Messiah, that's what gets the sin out of our lives. So we need to maintain that relationship. Now, within this period, at Passover, after the first Sunday, the first day of the week after the first regular Sabbath, is the Feast of First Fruits. So Feast of Habikurim must come within the 7 days of matzah, and that's when a new loaf of bread, risen bread, because remember, leaven inside the temple is holiness. Leaven outside in the world is sin. Because when we are resurrected, it says, not the leaven of sin, but the leaven of holiness will be in our lives. So that's what this represents. And Messiah is the first fruits. But this goes all the way through the Feast of Weeks. And at the Feast of Weeks, at the end of it, that represents our marriage to Messiah. The Torah is given. We're resurrected. We're the last part of this first fruit. So this Habikurim and Shavuot, because Feast of First Fruits starts the counting of the weeks. So this whole period is a feast. So the whole period is. Now it's just it's represented as the start here, but then there's another Sabbath after 50 days, 7 Sabbaths and another day, 49 and 1. Also, when it has to be on a Sunday, because the count is you shall count 7 Sabbaths, and the next day after the 7th Sabbath shall be a Feast of Weeks, and it has to be 50 days. So I know the rabbis start counting right after Passover because that's the first day of Matzah, and they count that as a Sabbath. But you're going to end up anywhere from, you could have 42 days. It can't work that way. It has to be the first regular Sabbath after the Passover. And that meant 7 Sabbaths of those, and one more is 50 days. It'll always be the first day of the week, and it'll always be 50 days that way, which is why even in Christianity they call it Pentecost, which means relating to 50. The 50th is what it means. But you shall offer a burnt offering for a sweet savor to Jehovah, 2 young bulls, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old, and their meal offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 parts for each bull, 2/10 parts for the 1 ram, 1/10 part for every lamb of the 7 lambs, 1 male goat to make atonement for you. That's the sin offering. Beside the perpetual burnt offering and meal offering of it, you shall offer them. They shall be to you without blemish, and their drink offerings. And in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you shall have this is the 7th month. This is not Rosh Hashanah. This is the 7th month. The head of the year is actually the first day of the month of Aviv. And in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work. It is Yom Teruah, day of alarm. Teruah is to blow. It's an alarm, day of alarm. Yeah, this is when in Revelation, when the sky opens up, it's a day of alarm. And the 10 days of awe, on the 10th day, he lands on the Mount of Olives and destroys a 200 million man army. That's a Yom Kippur. So this is Yom Teruah, a day of alarm for you. And you shall offer a burnt offering for a sweet savor to Jehovah. 1 young bull, 1 ram. See, when Messiah comes, he sets up his millennial kingdom. This is when the prophecy of Ezekiel comes true. The 2 sticks in the 1 hand of the shepherd, a stick of Ephraim and a stick of Yehudah joined together. So now we have 1 community, 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs, because now he's our complete Savior, without blemish. And their meal offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 parts for the bull, 2/10 parts for the ram, and 1/10 part for every lamb of the 7 lambs, and 1 male goat for a sin offering to make atonement for you. Beside the burnt offering of the new moon, see, there it is, the offering of the new moon. Yes, the moon does indicate the month. I don't care what these people talk about on this stupid calendar issues that they're having. How are we going to know when the month is? Yeah. Also, it's important that we follow this lunar solar cycle, because Passover has to happen after the vernal equinox, because without it, if Passover starts too soon, then the barley has not been harvested. So how can you have the Feast of First Fruits when they take a sheaf of barley that has been harvested? Because it says when you first put your sheaf to the grain, the barley. So all these things are linked together. So beside the burnt offering of the new moon and the meal offering of it, because remember, this is the first day of the month. So that's the new moon also, and it's also the offering for Yom Teruah. So beside the burnt offering of the new moon, the meal offering of it, and the perpetual burnt offering, the morning and evening sacrifice, and the meal offering of it, and their drink offerings, according to their ordinances for a sweet savor. This is obedience, an offering made by fire to Jehovah. It's obedience and relationship. If you're just doing it mechanically, it means nothing. It has no effect. And it has to mean something. It has to be part of a salvation relationship. And on the 10th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation, and you shall humble, afflict at your souls, all your souls. For you shall do no manner of work. You know what the Nazis used to do in the concentration camps? On this day, they would offer their people a big meal, the Jews a big meal, knowing that they had to keep Yom Kippur. That's how cruel the world is. And you shall offer a burnt offering to Jehovah for a sweet savor. 1 young bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old. They shall be to you without blemish. And their meal offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 parts for the bull, 2/10 parts for the 1 ram, 1/10 part for every lamb of the 7 lambs, and 1 male goat for a sin offering, beside this, the sin offering of atonement, and the perpetual burnt offering, and the meal offering of it, and their drink offerings. And on the 15th day of this 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work, and you shall observe it a feast to Yehovah 7 days. Now this is the feast of Shavuot. Feast of Sukkot. Tabernacles. Now this is a 7-day festival which has an 8th day. So in the book of Revelation talks about at the end of this millennial period, time shall end and eternity goes. So the 7th day just ends and time ends, but the 7th day just like continues. Well, the 8th day is eternity. If you take the number 8 and put it on its side, it's the symbol of infinity. Also, this is during the millennial kingdom. All of God's people that are still brought into the land of physical and the resurrected Adamic ones, they will keep all the feast days. But for the world, those that are not in the land, they are to keep the feast of Sukkot. Now, a bull, remember, that represents a worship sacrifice to God for a nation. Well, since we don't have the animal system anymore because Messiah has he's fulfilled all the work that those sacrifices represent. But when they come up in obedience to Jerusalem, to the promised land during the millennial period, that is their bowl of obedience. That is their offering. That is their sacrifice. So, on the 15th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work, and you shall observe a feast 7 days. And you shall offer a burnt offering, an offering made by fire for a sweet savor to Jehovah. 13 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old, and they shall be without blemish. Okay, now 13, this is going to be the nations, because it's going to decrement. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7 adds up to 70 bulls. The 70 nations are the 70 genetic lines from the 3 sons of Noah after the flood, so that represents the world coming up, if they come up in obedience. Now we have the 2 rams, the 2 houses that have become one that are in the land. 14 is the number of salvation. Messiah died for us on the 14th day. Now this is during the millennial period, so now it's the 14th, it's complete. And they shall be without blemish in their meal offering, fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 parts for every bull of 13 bulls, 2/10 parts for each ram of the 2 rams, and 1/10 part for every one of the 14 lambs, and 1 male goat for a sin offering beside the perpetual burnt offering, the meal offering of it, and the drink offering of it. And on the 2nd day, 12 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, and their meal offering and their drink offerings for the bulls and for the rams, for the lambs, according to the number after the ordinance. And 1 male goat for a sin offering beside the perpetual burnt offering, the meal offering of it, and their drink offerings. And on the 3rd day, 11 bulls. So now we see 13, 12, 11. Now, to me, it's kind of implied that during the millennial period, at first, a lot of people will come up, and then fewer and fewer and fewer people come up. But because we see the number declining, and remember, these are the sacrifice of the nations. On the 3rd day, 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, and their meal offering and their drink offerings for the bulls and for the rams and the lambs according to the number after the mishpat, and 1 male goat for a sin offering beside the perpetual burnt offering, the meal offering of it, and the drink offering of it. And on the 14th day, 10 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, and their meal offering and their drink offerings for the bulls and for the rams and for the lambs according to the number after the ordinance, and 1 male goat for a sin offering beside the perpetual burnt offering, the meal offering of it, and the drink offering of it. And I need to get a drink of water here. Becoming very thirsty. And on the 5th day, 9 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, and their meal offering and their drink offerings for the bulls and the rams and the lambs according to the number after the ordinance, and 1 male goat for a sin offering beside the perpetual burnt offering, the meal offering of it, and the drink offering of it. And on the 6th day, 8 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, and their meal offering and their drink offerings for the bulls and for the rams and for the lambs according to the number after the ordinance. And 1 male goat for a sin offering beside the perpetual burnt offering, the meal offering of it, and the drink offerings of it. Now we have the 7th day. Now the 7th day is also the millennium. The 7th day represents the completion of all things, because after the end of the 7th day, we go into the eternal kingdom. All those who come up in obedience and have joined themselves to Messiah through the the gates, the tribes of Israel, the messengers, the message of God's message from God's people. So they've come up, they're all in the promised land here. So on the seventh day, we have 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old, without blemish, and their meal offering and their drink offerings according for the bulls and the rams and the lambs according to the number after the ordinance, and 1 male lamb for a sin offering beside the perpetual burnt offering, the meal offering of it, and the drink offering of it. Now we've had 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs in this. Now, Bayom Hashmini, in the 8th day of the 7th day festival, because time ends at the 8th day is eternity. That's why it's done this way. You shall have a solemn assembly. You shall do no servile work. By the way, this 8th day, folks, is eternity. So for eternity, we shall do no servile work. Eternity is the Sabbath. We don't have to work for food. We don't have to work for anything. We will just live our relate. We don't have to eat food anymore. All the stuff we are so used to dealing with in this fleshly world, in this fleshly state we're in, will no longer be an issue for us. And we're going to have rest forever, but not sleep rest. We are going to have joy with Messiah. That's why Paul says, eye hath not seen, ear hath not heard, and mind hath not conceived all that God has prepared for us. So it's going to be great. Great. You should do no servile works. That's why I tell people you should keep Sabbath. It's a good practice, because if you don't like Sabbath, the millennium is going to be tough and eternity is not for you. But you shall offer a burnt offering, an offering made by fire for a sweet savor to Jehovah. 1 bull, because now there's 1 kingdom, 1 people resurrected, 1 ram, there's our Messiah, 7 male lambs, the work of salvation is complete, without blemish. Their meal offering, their drink offerings for the bull, for the ram, and the lamb shall be according to the number after the offering, after the ordinance rather. And 1 male goat for a sin offering, beside the perpetual burnt offering and the meal offering of it, and the drink offering of it. And these you shall offer to Jehovah in your appointed times, beside your vows and your freewill offerings, for your burnt offerings, and for your meal offerings, and for your drink offerings, and for your peace offerings. And Moses spoke to the sons of Israel according to all that Jehovah commanded at Moshe. And that concludes the Torah portion. Our Haftorah portion comes from 1 Kings, 1846 through 1921. And then the hand of Jehovah was on Eliyahu, Elisha. And he girded up his waist, and he ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. Now, if you were to read earlier before this, he had just challenged the prophets, the priests and the wicked priests of Jezebel, that they offer a bull and then they have a bull for Messiah. And he tells Israel, says, how long will you decide, will you waver between two? If Baal, Satan is God, worship him. If Jehovah is God, worship him. And the fire comes, they called on their God all day long. That stuff you sent me, Daryl, was just a riot, by the way. We'll play it later. He sent me some videos. People make some great biblical videos about. And one of the things was about this time here. He says, yeah, we knew God was going to come through. And other people, oh, he's so ashamed he was on the potty. Their God he wouldn't call. And after this, God consumed the sacrifice. He consumed the altar. He consumed the water. He consumed some of the dirt. Then they killed all these wicked priests. And then Jezebel goes after him. So he's running away from them. That's what he's doing here. And Ahab told Isabel, all that Eliyahu had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. And Isabel sent a messenger to Eliyahu saying, let so the gods do to me and more also, if I do not make your soul as the soul of one of them by tomorrow about this time. So you're going to be dead. She plans to kill him like he killed.
Basically called on her own death.
Yes, she did. She will be like that. And Jehu says, throw her out the window, and the horses trampled on her, and then the dogs ate her, and all that was left was her feet, her hands, and her head. Everything she thought about, everything she did, and everything where she went was evil. Yes?
People won't name their child Jezebel, but they'll name it Isabel.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his soul, his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Yehudah, and left at his servant there. And he himself went a journey of a day into the wilderness and came and sat down under a broom or juniper tree. And he requested for himself that his soul might be destroyed. And he said, "It is enough now, Jehovah. Take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers." And he lay down and slept under the broom tree. And behold, a messenger touched him and said to him, "Arise and eat." And he looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on the coals and a jar of water. And he ate and drank and laid down again. Just appeared, which tells you Messiah is also a chef. And the Malach Yehovah, the messenger of Jehovah, that's Messiah himself, came again the second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." And he arose and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to the mountain of God in Horeb. Now this is Horeb and Mount Sinai are together. This is where they spent 2 years after they left Egypt. And he came there to a cave. This is a cave in Mount Sinai that Ron Wyatt found. This is also where Saul was going to go and be taught by God. And he came to a cave and lodged there, and behold, the word of Jehovah came to him. This is Messiah came to him, Devar Jehovah. And he said to him, right? "What are you doing here, Eliyahu?" And he said, "I have been very jealous for Jehovah, the God of hosts, for the sons of Israel have forsaken at your covenant, thrown down at your altars, and at your prophets slain with the sword, and I only am left. And they seek my soul to take it away." He said, "Go forth and stand on the mountain before Jehovah." And behold, Jehovah passed by, and a great strong wind tore the mountains and broke in pieces the ragged rocks before Jehovah. But Jehovah was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But Jehovah was not in the earthquake. These are just the effects that his control and over nature and what he can do. And after the earthquake, a fire. But Jehovah was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. And it was so, when Eliyahu heard it, that he stood in the entrance of the cave, and behold, there came a voice to him and said, "What are you doing, Eliyahu?" And he said, "I have been very jealous for Jehovah, Jehovah of hosts. For the sons of Israel have forsaken at your covenant, thrown down at your altars, and at your prophets slain with the sword, and I only am left, and they seek at my soul to take it away." This is also end times. The world has thrown down all of broken God's covenant in every possible way, thrown down his altars, and are killing his people. And Jehovah said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you come, you shall anoint at Hazael to be king over Aram." This would be present-day Syria, kind of. And the Arameans, the Syrians, they would start now attacking the northern kingdom coming down. This is because of the wickedness of the northern kingdom in the time of Jezebel and Ahab. "And Jehu ben Nimshi shall you anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha ben Shaphat from Avel Meholah shall you anoint to be prophet in your room, in your place. And it shall come to pass that he who escapes from the sword of Hazael shall Jehu kill, and he who escapes from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha kill." Remember, when Jehu comes marching in, they say, "Who is this coming? I see this is the marching of Jehu." And he's the one who kills Ahab and Jezebel. "Yet I will leave 7,000, that's a symbolic number, all those, it's a number of completeness. I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which what? Have not bowed to Satan, to Baal, and every mouth which has not kissed him." So he departed there and found it Elisha ben Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. And Eliyahu passed over to him and cast his mantle, representing his glory, or the garment of a prophet, on him. And he left at the oxen, Elisha did, and ran after Eliyahu and said, "Let me, I pray you, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow you." And he said to him, "Go back again, for what have I done to you?" And he returned from following him and took at his yoke of oxen and killed them and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen and gave to the people, and they ate. So he closed his business down and gave it to the people. And they arose and went after, and he arose and went after Eliyahu and ministers unto him. So I know Elisha and Elijah are hard to remember, but in the Hebrew it's much easier. Eliyahu and Eliyah. Now, Eliah means Yah, he is my God, and Eliyahu, Yah, he is my God. At the end, that masculine singular. And our Testament with the N in front of it, the New Testament, it's actually the Renewed Testament, Brit Hadashah portion comes from Yochanan, John 2:13 through 25. And the Passover of the Jews was near. And now remember, at this time when Messiah came, there was only the kingdom of Yehuda left. And so this is really the Passover of the people of the kingdom of Yehuda. That's why it says, because everyone else was gone from the land. So the Passover of the Yehudim was near, and Yeshua went up into Jerusalem. And he found in the sanctuary fleshly men selling flock and cattle and doves. And he made something like a plaiting of cords, and he drove all of them out of the sanctuary after the flock, also the flock and the cattle. And he scattered the money and the money changers and cast down their tables. And he said unto those who sold doves, cast these things away from this place, and do not make the house of my Father the house of merchandise. And his disciples remembered that it was written, love of your house consumes me. Quotes are taken from Psalm 69. Either verse 9 or 10, depending on which Bible you read. And then answered the Jews and said, what sign will you show us that you do this? In other words, under what authority are you doing this? What they're asking him. And answered Yeshua and said unto them, you will cast down this sanctuary, but this is the letter Gimel here, by the way. This is in that actual writing, which is the number 3 in Hebrew. But in 3 days I will raise it up. Then the Jews said unto him, man, this sanctuary was extended among us. Now this is Herod's temple, right? And that work continued 46 years, and you say you will do it in 3 days. But what he said about the sanctuary of his heart. Now, if you were to read this translation from the Greek, they're talking about his body. Same thing. And they believed in the writings and in the word that Yeshua spoke. And when he was in Jerusalem in Passover, in the day of the feast, many Jews, seeing the sign which he did, believed in his name. But Yeshua did not give his trust unto them, for he knew all of them. And he did not need that the witness be hastily done for him by the fleshly men, for he knew what was in the fleshly men. He knows what's in our hearts. He didn't trust any man. He didn't need to. He trusted God. Yes?
But these Jews became believers in him.
Yes. Some of these Jews became believers. Now, also this. Yes, but ultimately what it talks about, remember, his disciples remembered these words, and because of this, they believed in him even more. And yes, some people did believe, because remember, at this time also, he's going to go on those steps and say, oh, who come unto me will come rivers of living water. This is just before he died. So that concludes that part. So we'll go into the Hebrew. How to read Hebrew lesson.
Very similar to Paul, because a lot of Jews believe in Paul, and a lot of Jews trying to kill him.
Yes. Well, so the people who believe in God and do his, come into relationship with him. Yes. Oh, thank you. I can do that here. Come into relationship with him. I'm just going to get this water in my phone. This is where the recording is taking place, and I don't want to get too far away from it. You're either going to believe in God and try to follow his commandments, or you're going to want to kill God's people. Which is ultimately what's about to happen in the whole world. It's already happening in a lot of places. So, this is a long one today. It's good because it has a lot of letters we don't normally see. Here's the pei. The dot here is an E into the yod, and here's a nun. And this shava here is a syllable divider. Here's the chet, half note A, into the samech. I always remember this by the Superman samech, because the symbol of Superman is a stylized letter samech, which is an S sound. So this is pin chas. Again, the dots inside of a letter often change its sound or double it. A dot below is an E sound. A dot above, like this, is an O sound. And a dot in the middle, which I don't know if we have any today, is an U. Bars are A's. This is a half note. It's a half note E. Dots, horizontal dots, are E's. Here's a whole note A, a quarter note A. I don't know if we have any quarter note E's, but it's very musical, like musical notes. So, Pinchas, Phineas. This is Bet. This dot makes it a B sound instead of a V. If it had no dot, it would be a vet. Half note E into the noon. That's this letter noon in its final form. See how this horizontal portion is just stretched down below the baseline? So whenever you see a letter that extends below the baseline, you know it's a final form of another letter. So this is Ben, son or son of. Aleph, which is always silent, carrying a half note E. The syllable ends in this lamed, which is an L sound. Now this is an ain with a half note A. Now the ain and the aleph are the same, that they only carry vowel sounds, but the ain is the aleph is a soft sound, open throat. Think of it that way. And the ain is a hard start, a closed throat. So this is L, but this A becomes a ah. So here's a zain, Z sound, half note A into the resh. So this El Azar, excuse me, El Azar. I'm emphasizing that hard start from the aleph there, from the ain there. Again, here's Ben again, son of. Here's aleph carrying a full note A, a hey carrying a quarter note A into the rounded resh is the way to remember it. O up here, O point, and this is a nun sofit, Aharon, Aaron. Here's the hey, full note A. This is the kaf. If it had a no dot in here, it'd be a haf. So it makes it a K sound of it instead of a KH. And this is the vowel point for an O. Hey with a full note E into the nun sofit, that N sound. So this ha, kohen. Our root word is Cohen, priest, and this is the priest. Now in this case, it's Aaron. He's the high priest. This is a hey with a full note E into the shin, because the dot's on the right, E, yod, and here's the vet. See, here's the bet here, no dot, it becomes a vet. So that's heshiv. So this turned away, like teshuva, to turn, and they all share the same root. This is to turn away. Here's the aleph tav, aleph E into the tav. This is a definitive direct object pointer linguistically in Hebrew. But Messiah says, I am the aleph tav, the alpha and omega, but he's a Hebrew, he's the aleph tav. So I put Yeshua, but actually it's linguistically it's a direct object pointer. Definitive direct object pointer, rather. Here's the chet again. This is a quarter note A because of the bar with the shva. And here's the mim with the half note E to the tav. Remember, the way to remember it, it has a toe on it, tav, toe, E, yod. So ha, ma, ti. Hamati, rather. So this is wrath of mine, my wrath. This is the mim with a full note E into the ain with a full note A into the lama. So this is me'al. Now, all is upon, and the mim is from, so from upon, but we don't say it that way in English, so it just means from. But it really is from upon. Save, so turn away my wrath from upon is actually what's happening. Now, this is bet. By itself, that's a shava, noon, full note E into the yod. So our root here is son or son of. Now, this is bene, so this is the sons of. Here's a yod. Here's the E, vowel pointing sound. Here's the seen. See over here on the right, we see the shin, dots on the right, dots on the left. It's a S sound. So the way you remember, there's no sin to be left-handed. So if the dot on this letter is on the left, it's a seen instead of a sheen. So this is yis, rounded resh, half note A into the aleph, carrying the full note E into lamed. This is Yisrael, Israel. Our root word here is actually yasher, which is uprightness or to be upright, and this El is God, so upright with God. It's the righteousness of God. Those who overcome as a prince with God, relationship with God and righteousness. Here's the bet by itself. Here's the kof, carrying, this is a full note A, ending in this noon sound. Aleph lost its sound, lost its vowel sound to the vav, which is also just pronounced by itself. So this is one of those cases where the vav is pronounced and the O sound. So this is be kar o, be kan o. Our root word here is kana, which is jealousy. This is in his jealousy, and this becomes in his jealousy. Aleph tav again. Here's the kof, E into the Nun, Aleph carrying a half note E, Tav, E into the Yod, Kin, T. So again, here's our root word here is kana, but now we have a double suffix. This is in my jealousy, or not in my jealousy. His jealousy, this is my jealousy. Here's the Bet, Tav, O, Hav, Haf, half nodine. This is the mim sophit. This is a regular mim up here. This is its final form sophit. This is Betoham. Betoham. In among them. Among them. In among them. But we just say in among. This is just a plural here. Ham. Vav by itself. Lamed O. Taking the Aleph is just along for the ride. And not. Here's the Haf again. E. The Lamed is doubled because of the dot in the middle of it, but it's also carrying an E sound into the Yod, a Tav with an E into the Yod, so it's Chiliti. And not what? And not I consume them. This is related to Ochel, to eat. I did not eat them, but did not consume them. Here's the Aleph Tav again. Here's the sons of again. Here's Israel again. And now this is Bet Kin Ati, in my jealousy again. So in just a very literal sense, this is Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, turned away through the power of Messiah from the sons of Israel in his jealousy, the jealousy of Messiah in among, and not that it did not consume them. Did not consume the. See how hard it is? He can't just do this literally, it becomes unreadable. Did not consume them in his jealousy. So God is jealous over his people. He doesn't want us fooling around with other gods. That's what this is related to. And that concludes our service for today. And we will close with prayer. It says, Lord Yeshua, we thank you for your salvation work above all things. Thank you for this teaching. We're reminded in this Feast of Sukkot at the end, this is the chance for the world during this millennial period for all the 70 tribes, the 70 lines to be joined into one house in the millennial kingdom, and to go into eternity as one people with one God and one Torah for an eternal Sabbath of rest. And our food will be a relationship with you, Lord Messiah. But Yeshua, the only way that is possible, that you died for us, and that we must ask you, Lord Yeshua, now. We ask for your salvation. Please, Lord Yeshua, forgive us of our sins. And we want to be with you. We want to be holy. We want to be as you are. And we know that's only done by your work in us and through your power in our lives. And we give thanks for that in your holy name, Yeshua. Amen and amen.